Well, Ms. Lowenberg, Mr. Lowenberg, thank you for your time. Thank you for welcoming me to your home. It's a beautiful home, by the way. Um, so let's just start at the beginning. When and where were you born?
I was born here in El Paso
Mhm.
on Bowie Street. Is that the one that, no,
No,
the
I
one
think,
right
I
by,
think
okay,
Frutas.
by Guardian Angel,
Frutas.
What year was that?
1934, November 26, 1934.
Okay. How long did you live in San Elizario?
From the time, I don't remember anything else until I was 15.
Okay.
I was with my grandmother.
So with your grandmother?
I have 8 brothers and sisters. My mom kept having children, and my grandma kept taking me home.
Yeah. So, what can you tell me about your parents?
Son Ellie.
She went to San Eli when she was a baby,
Uh-huh.
and she stayed there till she was 15 years old.
Right.
Okay.
And I went to school in San Elizario. And Mr. Alarcon was the principal.
Yes.
And Mr. Lowenstein was my 7th grade teacher. He was from here. And I graduated from San Eli. And then I went to Acelera High for 2 years. And then I came to live with my mother in El Paso.
Okay.
And I finished high school here.
Okay. What do you remember about going to school in San Eli?
Oh, I loved it. We had, at PE, we ran up and down the football field, and our teachers ran with us. It was wonderful. I started in kindergarten. My teacher was Mrs. Duck, and she was my teacher through 3rd, maybe even 4th grade. And I stayed there till my 7th grade. Till my 7th?
What?
Did I stay in Sunday till my 7th grade or
You
8th
stayed there
grade?
till your sophomore.
Monday?
Till you left San Eli on your sophomore year.
Right, but I came to my mom's before then
No.
for part of a year. Went to school at,
No, he's asking you, how do you remember your school in San Eli?
oh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
We had our teachers were from El Paso.
Okay.
And the principal and the head of everything was from San Eli. Alarcon was his name.
Yes.
But it was wonderful. We had great PE classes. We had wonderful teachers. I did fine in high school. A's and B's always. I went to Acelera High for 2 years. And then I came to live with my mother here in El Paso. And I went to St. Joseph's Academy. Graduated from St. Joseph's Academy, which is when I met him, he was a cathedral.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we graduated, we got married. And I've been married ever since.
Right. So why did you live with your grandmother in the?
Why did I live with my grandmother? I think when my mom, I don't remember them telling me ever anything. Mom got pregnant with my sister, and my grandmother says that she already had my 2 brothers, which were toddlers. So my grandmother says, let me just take Odilia with me, so it won't be so difficult for you.
Okay.
And once I got to the farm, Grandma wouldn't let me go, I guess. And we'd just come and visit.
Yeah.
And we'd go back. And I came and I made my first Holy Communion at Guardian Angel. I was confirmed at Guardian Angel. But I went to school in San Eli, and we lived there. Or I lived there until
You were 15.
I was 15 years old. And Mom and Dad and the family moved down there 1 year. I don't remember what year it was, but we had a wonderful time. But it evidently it wasn't for them. So they moved back, and then I moved here when it was time to go to high school, right?
When you were going to be a junior.
Oh, when I was going to be a junior,
When you were going to
right?
start.
Yeah, I was a sophomore.
So what did your grandparents do for a living in San Diego?
My granddaddy I never met. He was dead already. My grandmother owned this farm we lived on, 14 acres. And
Who was your grandmother?
Santos
Santos
Perez
what?
Grijalva.
Okay.
Santos Perez Grijalva. And her son, Jose, lived on the farm, and he ran the farm. And then, of course, we had all kinds of guys working from Juarez, from Mexico.
Did you help her on the farm?
Oh, yes, of course.
What did you do?
I fed the chickens and the pigs, and when we had to have a chicken for dinner, we'd go out and I'd catch it, and my grandmother would twist its neck, and we'd eat it.
Yeah.
I did all kinds of stuff.
So do you remember what you and your friends did when you were living in San Eli?
What?
What your friends did?
What
like
my friends did?
What you and your friends did? Would you go to the store and buy?
We went to the store and bought things. We went. In fact, the store was within walking distance from school, and I was always the one with money, so we used to go to the store. And I'd treat everybody to milk nickels and stuff. And then we graduated, and some of us went to Isleta High, and some went to Clint. And then from Isleta, I came to live with my mother in El Paso.
So Mr. Alarcón comes up in...
Mr. Alarcón was the principal, and he was a wonderful person. His kids went to San Eli, and we all went. I think we all ended up, the Alarcons, I think all ended up in Isleta High too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Could you tell me a little bit more about what he did in the school? Like what made him so great? Because I keep hearing about him.
We just really, really liked him. We did everything from what I was informed, because, of course, my brothers and sisters lived here and they went to school here. We did the same things in San Eli. And I was in the band. I played the saxophone. And we had physical ed, and sometimes even the teachers practiced with us and ran with us. But it was the same. We were doing the same kind of stuff my brothers and sisters here were doing. So Grandma felt fine, and so did my mom and dad, in leaving me there with her.
Yeah.
Because she evidently didn't want to get rid of me.
So how was that transition going from living with your grandmother to living with your mom?
Well, it was difficult at first because they would say, well, you're not from El Paso. And then they got used to me, and then I met him, gosh, I guess immediately.
Yeah, but the difference, when you went back with your mother, you had 8 brothers and sisters living with you. And your grandmother by yourself.
Yeah.
Which was rare. I mean, it was an experience to be able to have to share everything with everybody when I had been by myself. But it wasn't difficult. I adjusted.
What did your mom do for a living at the time?
Raised 9 kids.
Yeah. So was it your father working?
My dad worked for the Southern Pacific Railroad.
Oh, okay.
But your mom was educated, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't your...
Yeah.
Business school.
Yeah.
She went to business college. Yeah.
Okay.
She graduated from San Eli and went to business school.
So, what was your experience then with your schooling here in El Paso? You said you went to St. Joseph's, right?
Mm-hmm. When I came to El Paso and I went to St. Joseph, it was very different, but I adjusted and loved it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that's when we met. And we got married the minute we graduated.
Really? Okay.
So,
St. Joseph's was St. Joseph an all-girls school?
St. Joseph was an all-girls school, and he went to an all-boys school.
Mm-hmm.
And he was within walking distance. He'd walk from Cathedral to St. Joseph and walk me to the bus stop.
So how did you meet? Like, what, was it an event or?
No, you were my
How did we meet?
Yeah.
my brother. Through my brother Dickie.
I was playing football for Cathedral, and her brother was playing football with me. And my best friend was playing with us, and my best friend, David, would tell her brother, she had a little sister, Mary Lou, and my best friend would tell her brother, say hello to your sister for me. So I just knew she had another sister, but I had never met her. And I said, so that he couldn't outdo me, I said, say hello to your other sister.
Yeah.
So then the football coach had a meeting of all the parents at Cathedral, and they brought, her mother and father brought her and her sister to the meeting, and that's where I met her.
To meet good Catholic boys.
Yeah.
1950.
1950. Okay. So then, how did the relationship
We started
move on?
We started going to dances first, right? That they had
Yeah, we went to
at
all the
Cathedral
dances.
and
Yeah, but he's asking you a question, honey.
well, how did our relationship start? That's what he asked.
Pardon me? Okay.
Through my brother, because my brother introduced me to him.
Yeah. So then, like, how was it like dating?
We started
back then?
dating.
What did you do?
We started dating, and
We started dating, and
What kind of things did you do? How was your
I
dating?
didn't
What
have
did
a
you
car.
guys do?
I lived on the west side by UTEP. She lived over by Loretto, and I would take the bus over there to her house, pick her up, take the bus downtown, go to the movies, and then take a bus back. And thus I didn't have a car at that time.
Yeah.
And then I would hitch. It would be too late at night, and I'd have to hitch a ride back to downtown and walk to my house because it's too late. The bus was good.
Yeah.
And then I got a car, and then, of course, we dated. Didn't have a problem then.
Yeah. So what did you do after high school, after you got married?
after we got married,
Well, they hadn't graduated. When did you get married? You guys hadn't graduated from high school yet, right?
well, we graduated with a class in May
We had enough credits
to get out and get
to
married.
get out in January.
Mm.
So we got out in January, got married in February, and then graduated with a class in May.
Okay.
In May,
And then did you go to college? What happened after?
he went to college.
Yeah, I went to college.
I had babies.
She put me through college. She went to work, and then I started college.
Where did you start working?
Pardon me?
Where did you start?
Where did I start working? For a compadre of ours.
No.
He owned
You
his.
started working for the city tax office after we were married. That's for your first job.
What was your first job?
Oh, the city tax office was my first job.
Uh-huh.
That's right. The city tax office was my first job. That's where I went to work. And then
And then you went to work for Nakata Electric, Thunderbird Electric.
Thunderbird
Or
Electric.
compadre of hers.
He was a compadre of ours. Well, he was part of the family gathering. Friends, family friends. And then I went to work with them, and we got married.
No, we got married first, and
And
then
then
we
we
went to work.
with them. And then I quit.
You quit
Which
working
one?
for Thunderbird Electric when you guys opened Lowenberg Construction.
When I started the business, you
That's
quit
when,
and you became.
yeah, because we started it here at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
I started a remodeling business. I got out of coaching. I used to be a football coach, basketball coach. I got out of coaching, and then when I opened the remodeling business, she became the secretary and bookkeeper.
but when he was opened the remodeling business was because during the summers, he worked for a friend of ours who was a remodeler. And so he decided he liked that. And that's when he became a remodeler.
Yeah. So how were your first jobs? What did you do? Did you like it?
Oh, yeah. But I only worked for Fernie, right?
No, you work for the city, honey.
I worked for the city.
What did you do for the city?
I was we had bookkeeping machines, and I was a bookkeeping machine operator
Right.
For the city.
for the city of El Paso.
Who was your boss?
Mr. Hidon, and Joe Prudo. Joe Prudo
And Mr. Hito.
was in charge of everybody, and Mr. Hidon was the head of the tax office. I don't remember his first name, but Hidon was his last name.
Right. And so once you opened the business with your husband, what was that like? What was it working and
Oh, it was wonderful.
getting the business up and running?
What did you do for the business?
Because I ran everything from home.
She was a bookkeeper,
I had
secretary,
the children
everything.
and raising
We had our
children
office here in the
at the
back.
same time. We had our
So
office here.
Was it challenging raising children and working at the same time?
Well, if it was, I did pay attention to it. We just enjoyed it. I'm sure it was.
Yeah. How many children did you have?
6.
6.
Yeah.
What are the names?
Where are they?
What are their names? What are your 6 children's names?
Who's your
Start
oldest?
at the oldest.
Kathy.
Mhm.
And her last name is,
Lowenberg.
Lowenberg.
oh yeah, she went back to Lowenberg after the divorce.
Just what?
And then Julius Lowenberg. He lives in Dallas. He graduated from Notre Dame. And then Deborah Ann. Did she go to,
No, she
UTEP?
didn't. No, she didn't.
she's works at
Franklin High School.
Franklin High School. And Deborah, and then Veronica. And Veronica works
For the state.
for the state, does what she wants.
And then
Veronica.
who?
And then who?
Who comes after me?
Who comes up to
Eric
Eric. And Eric works,
in insurance.
He's in insurance.
he's in
And
insurance.
he lives here.
That's right. And he lives down the street. And Eric, and then
The youngest is Eileen.
Eileen, and she married a doctor, Jorge Palomino, and they live in San Antonio.
Mhm.
And that was my baby.
So what do you remember about your children's childhood? Like what did you do with them? Did you take them on trips?
Oh yeah, we went to all the ball games because Dad coached forever,
Mhm.
and we were at all the ball games, and they adored it. That was their upbringing.
Yeah.
And then we vacationed in the summer once in a while.
Where did we go 2 summers in a row and take all the kids with us?
To Mexico.
No,
With
California.
Uncle Manny.
before with Uncle Manny.
With Uncle Manny.
El Salvador.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. We went to El Salvador 2 summers in a row.
We took all the kids,
We took all the children down there.
spent 2 summers in El Salvador.
Right.
How was that?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Back then, before
Uh-huh.
all the stuff that has happened, but it was great.
We had a ball.
And then I got a job in Monterrey, Mexico, as a football coach, and took 4 of them. There was still 4 of them.
Uh-huh.
She was 6, 7, 8
8.
when we went down there, stayed down there. I coached American football down there.
Right. So you lived in Monterrey?
Uh-huh.
In Monterrey,
Can you tell me a little
And,
bit
and
about that?
I have family from Mexico that live there.
Mhm.
Lowenberg from Mexico City and Monterrey.
Oh, okay. What do you remember about Monterrey?
It was wonderful.
What do you remember?
It was
What do you
wonderful.
what do you remember about Monterrey? Do you remember meeting family there?
Of course. I met family I'd never known, family of his.
Mm-hmm.
And we thoroughly enjoyed it. He was teaching. The kids were going to school. I love that they learned Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
proper Spanish, and then forgot it when we got back.
Yeah.
Did you work when we were in Monterrey? You didn't work, did you?
Mhm.
You were home.
No,
making sure.
I took care of them.
Chauffeur. She was a chauffeur.
You were a
Yeah,
chauffeur.
I was a chauffeur for all of you guys.
Right.
That was it.
Did you know Spanish already before you went to
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where did you learn it? Was it just growing
Where
up?
did I learn Spanish?
Mhm.
My parents are Latino Americanos,
Was
And my
Spanish your
grandmother.
first language? Or
I guess.
Yeah.
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 On the
Yeah.
farm, that's all we spoke was because
Your
I was
grandmother
reared by
didn't
my
speak
grandmother on the farm in San Elisario.
did
In
your
Spanish.
grandmother speak English?
Mhm.
No,
No.
No.
Mm.
So that's how you communicated with her, was speaking Spanish,
speaking Spanish. Spanish was my first language.
and then speaking Spanish to all the workers on the farm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's how you communicated with everybody, was
Right.
in Spanish.
Right.
So I want you to tell them about your grandma on the farm.
What we did?
What you did and why none of the workers ever messed with you. Because your grandma,
She carried a gun around. And I mean, she had that gun for everything. She carried it around because she took care of the farm. And we would walk out into the acres, and if there was an animal creeping or whatever, she was always prepared. But because she carried that gun, they really respected her. So they left me completely alone. Thank God.
Yeah.
I was fine.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you would like to talk about? Because I mean, this is also for your family.
Well, because she talks about Saneli all the time. Talk about the SEGHS too, because you've talked about how you and your friends would play along the SEGHS
And then
and swim in the SEGHS.
and then jump in. Yeah, those were our swimming pools,
Yeah.
you know. And we had the big sequía that ran along the house. And then we had the little one that went behind the house to water all the acres and acres of cotton that we had.
Yeah. Do you remember some of your friends' names from back then?
Do I remember what?
Some of your friends' names
Friends' names?
from San Elisario.
Oh, yeah. Let me think. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Who did you hang out with in Saneli?
My cousins,
Who were they?
all the Grijalbas.
Do you remember their names?
Who were the girls?
Kati,
Who was the oldest that you hung out with?
Rosa. Then her older sisters were Mariquita and Josefina. And Efrain and Kiko were the brothers, the older brothers.
Did you have a best friend in Sanelli?
Yes, I did. She was from California.
Do you
And she
remember her
came
name?
into Carmen. And she was the only one around me that spoke as fluent English as I did.
Mm-hmm.
So we became friends immediately. And of course, everybody around us picked up our English. But I can't remember. God, I can't remember her name.
Carmen.
Her
Carmen
name-
something.
Yeah, it was Carmen. And the whole family, spoke English. English was their first language because they came from California.
Mm-hmm.
So we just hit it from day one.
Yes.
So when you were growing up in Sanelli, were you one of the only ones there that spoke English?
Uh-huh.
Did everyone around you speak
Uh-huh.
Spanish?
Hmm. And then when they were teaching us English in school, so of course the teachers would always call me up to converse with the kids so that they would see what it was like.
Mm-hmm.
How come you were one of the only ones that spoke English?
I guess because I spent so much time in town with my family,
Right.
and I practiced it.
Okay.
Everybody spoke English, and they understood it, but they weren't fluent in it like I was because they didn't have the experience that I had with my family here and friends.
So you grew up in Sanelli, went to school there, spent most of your time, but you would come back to El Paso
Every weekend,
every weekend to visit with
My-
your parents,
my
and your
parents and
sisters,
brothers and
and that's
sisters.
when you would speak
Mhm.
English at your
right?
mom's house.
That's where we would speak English. And I learned to speak English for our first Holy Communion and for our confirmation and for everything. So we did everything in English.
Right.
So you told me that you were baptized and you had your first communion here in El Paso. But did you go to church here or in Sanelli?
I went when I was in San Eli and we were down there, we went to San Elisario
Okay.
mission. We belonged there. We belonged to that mission. And then when I was in El Paso, depending on where my mother lived, at first it was Guardian Angel.
Mhm.
And they moved to, what is that?
St. Joseph.
To St. Joseph's Parish. And so then we became parishioners of St. Joseph. And my sisters went to Loreto. I went to Estela High. And then when I came down to stay with my mother, my sisters, Mom had changed them from Loreto to St. Joseph's Academy downtown, which was within walking distance of Cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
And my brothers went to Cathedral, and he went to Cathedral. And we went to St. Joseph's Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And that was where I graduated from St. Joseph's Academy.
Yes. Do you have anything else?
Where was your farm? Where was the farm in Sanelli? Do you remember?
Right. You could walk to downtown. Of course, at that time, I walked a long ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying we could walk, but it wasn't 3 blocks or 4 blocks. It was,
And the house is still there.
yeah, the house is still there. And just to,
Talk about
Across-
talk about living in the house. How much of the house did you and your grandma occupy, and why?
well, it depended on, it had 11 rooms.
Mhm.
It was
You should.
U-shape. And she rented everything to people that worked on the farm. And so we would move from from whatever rooms we were living in, we would move to wherever the people that came in didn't want to live. So Grandma and I lived in the whole house throughout for years. Mm-hmm. And
what kind of stove did you have?
Wood. We had a wood and an oil, both. Wood stove and an oil stove.
And you have a heaters? What kind of heaters you have?
The heaters were también wood heaters and oil heaters until when my mom and dad moved down there one year, and my daddy put in natural gas. And that's when Grandma got the natural gas. That's what we got.
And where were your bathrooms?
Our toilets were outside. We had a toilet on each side of the house because the house was a U shape. And it was, like I say, 11 rooms. So there was a toilet outside of that side, and there was a toilet outside of this side. So then when my daddy and the family moved down there, my daddy put in bathrooms inside. Mm-hmm. So he put a bathroom close to the front of the room by a bedroom. And then he opened and put in another bathroom at the end where we were still renting part of the house. So he put an inside bathroom there. And that was the first inside bathrooms we had down there.
Mm-hmm. So why did your family move to Sanelli?
They didn't move, they were born there.
Yes, but
when mom and dad, I don't know why. I think Mom just wanted to experience what I was experiencing. That's the only thing I can think of.
How long were they there?
Just a year.
Just a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were
just
there.
The one school.
Right.
Huh?
They were there just a year.
Yeah, they were there just a year. I was there
15.
Till I was 15.
Yes. Okay. Do you ever go back there to Sanelli? Did you ever go back and visit?
Oh, I love to go. We have relatives on the farms, so we do. We go visit. Very seldom, but we still do.
Mm-hmm.
We probably go at least a couple of times a year, because we'll get a hankering and say, let's go check it out. And then you go on, in November.
All Souls Day.
All Souls Day. We always
go All Souls Day because I go to the cemetery. Because I was brought up by my grandmother and we buried her down there. Mm-hmm. You know, I've got loads of relatives buried there, so we always go there on All Souls Day.
Right. Is that a tradition you've had for years? Okay. What's it like going back there? What do you think about? What do you see?
Oh, I love it.
What memories come to mind?
I love it. To this day, you know.
Do any memories pop up when you're back there?
Do any memories pop up when you're back there?
Oh, loads of course.
Yeah? Like what?
I used to climb the pecan trees and shake them while my cousins picked up the pecans on the bottom. And then we had pear trees, and we'd climb the pear trees and get the pears, and we had grapevines, and we had...
How did you drink your milk?
Oh my goodness. When my uncle was milking the cow, I would go and give him my glass, and he'd milk it directly into the glass, and I'd drink it for him.
Yeah.
Well, but I was used to it.
That's a happy memory of yours. I think it's disgusting.
Non-pasteurized.
Crazy.
What kind of vegetables and fruits did you go out in the garden and eat directly in the garden?
Watermelons, cantaloupes, tomatoes. I take my salt shaker, cucumbers. Take a sandwich and grab a chili down there. Climb the pear trees, climb the apple trees. Had a ball.
Yeah. Are there any like family stories that have been passed down to you by your parents, your grandparents?
Family what?
Family
Family
stories.
like where they came from, how did they get to the farm, things like that.
Do you know how your grandma?
I'm trying to
the
think of
farm?
what she told me. I'm trying to think of when they bought the farm. When they came, because they were in, my God, I thought I'd never forget the name of the place where they came from. And then my grandpa bought that farm. And then he bought the farm adjoining it that had a little house that they rented out. And I grew up with outside toilets. You know, we didn't have inside plumbing until my daddy moved down there.
Who took over the farm after
My uncle.
Grandma?
My uncle that was living
Joe.
there forever.
Which uncle was that?
He stayed, Uncle Joe.
Uncle Joe.
Grijalva. Joe
Uncle
Grijalva
Joe.
took over the
Jose
farm.
Grijalva. Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's still there, right?
And it's still there, and it still belongs to.
It doesn't belong to the Grijalvas
No,
anymore.
No, but it belongs to.
No.
It doesn't
Sold
belong
it.
to
No, I
family.
don't think it's in the
No
family
more.
Not in the
anymore.
family anymore.
Okay,
Oh,
No.
they remember more than I do. Yeah, I guess.
okay. So just to like, well, before we wrap things up, do you have anything else?
No.
No.
I think those are the things that she talks about all the time.
I took the bus to school.
Mhm.
I had to wait for the
When you went at
bus.
Sleda, she'd take the bus to a Sleda. When you
I
went
took
at
the bus to
Sleda.
Sanelli too.
No, you didn't.
Of course I did.
You walked.
If I didn't walk, I'd take the bus. Most of the time I walked, but I took the bus sometimes. If I was too lazy to walk that morning, I'd wait for the bus. But most of the time I walked. And it had to be a couple of miles, huh?
Well, it's right downtown, honey. Your house is right almost downtown.
No, my house isn't downtown.
Okay.
You're dreaming. We'll have to go down there again. Because it's not left out.
So how would you describe Sanelli and its community?
Oh, it was wonderful.
Mhm.
It was wonderful.
And what about
I had a perfect upbringing. Now I don't know much about it anymore. I still have relatives down there, and they still have their farms. So I'm sure it's good enough for them, you know. And when we go down there, we have a wonderful time.
Mhm.
When we visit any relatives down there.
Have you visited the Los Portales Museum and like the
Oh, yes.
genealogy
Oh, yeah.
project they have?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
In
This
fact,
is-
I made it a point to go into the genealogy for that reason, you know, because it's there. And I was raised there.
This is part of that project, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah, so this interview will be archived there with the genealogy project so that, you know, future generations can see you and have your story there.
What?
What? I'm
This
sorry.
this interview is going to be part of the genealogy project,
Oh,
and it'll be there so that
Okay.
future generations can witness this interview and
oh yeah.
know about you.
Well, it was wonderful.
Mhm.
My upbringing, my history of Sanelli was wonderful. I have nothing bad to say about it.
Okay.
I learned to pick cotton. I learned to climb trees. I learned to float in the ditch because I don't think I've ever learned to swim, have I? So it was just heaven as far as I was concerned.
Yeah.
And every time, I'm one of 9, and whenever my brothers and sisters visited me, they loved it. They didn't want to come home. They didn't want to come back to El Paso.
They didn't have a car.
And we didn't have a car. We took a bus everywhere we went. Or my uncle's children would take us.
Or your Uncle Kiko.
My Uncle Kiko's children would take us. Or Tio Jose would take us wherever.
Tell him about the time that you and Mary Lou were doing something and cut her head.
We were chopping wood.
You were chopping wood.
We were chopping wood because I did everything. And she bent over to get something as I came down with the axe and just got her, but just barely got her, thank God.
And what did you do?
And then what did you do?
And I said, don't tell Grandma, come on, let's go wash your face.
No, what did you do? What did you wash her
What
head
did
with?
you put on her? On her head?
Oh,
You thought you were putting...
water.
No, you thought you were putting oil because your grandma always used oil to fix stuff.
And it was the oil,
And it wasn't oil, it was...
gasoline,
Right.
Kerosene.
kerosene. It was kerosene that I was washing her with.
Yeah.
By the grace of God, we made it.
But she never told your grandma, did she?
No.
So you didn't get in trouble?
We never told. We did lots of things that we never told Grandma.
Yeah.
I love that story.
Do you have any pictures? She's got a couple of pictures here
Well, I mean, if you have pictures,
of her grandmother,
Yeah.
her grandfather.
I'm sure the museum.
Yeah,
would like
they've got
to,
all those pictures in the museum.
I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to take a picture of them because they're
Yeah.
big pictures.
Yeah, I'm sure the museum has them.
Yeah.
There's
Because
one
that's
that
where we...
showed that one there of that's her mother, and I only have a few if you want it. That's up to you.
Yeah.
Which one, honey?
That of your mother and your aunt that had a dual.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Dual
have this
wedding,
picture
whatever.
at the museum.
Their wedding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's my mother
That's
and
where we
her
got it
sister.
from. Yeah.
I can't see. Is that Mom?
Uh-huh.
This is my mother and her sister, Candida. And they got married the same day.
Oh, okay. Do you know what year that was?
Pardon
Do
me?
you know what
Do you know
year
what
that
year
was?
God.
Yeah.
19.
You put the name, but no.
It doesn't have the date.
No.
Grandma Villalobos and her sister Tia Candida. Yeah, it doesn't have the date.
Okay.
But I bet the museum has it.
Let's see. Manny was born in, so that's probably 1928, 26 to 28. That one.
Yeah.
Because Manny was born in 30.
30?
1930. So that had to be
Oh, so it was
28, 29.
Yeah.
28 or 29.
Yeah.
If he was born in 30, yeah.
All right. Well,
Crazy.
Nice.
yeah, I think that's all the time we have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.